This has been warned about, this has been talked about for years at this point, but the trends of the video games industry progress ever onward, without falter, without fail. And despite warning after warning, convenience reigns supreme. Sony messed up, and PlayStation solidified an age-old worry many people in the video games market and many consumers alike worried about for years. You do not own digital purchases. This is a fact, this is a element of the industry as a whole that many people take for granted. I'm a PC gamer primarily speaking, or at least most of the time. So, most of my games are digital, and they have been like that for a while at this point. But console gamers are just recently getting on this trend. It's been a thing for a while, but it's picked up in popularity, especially at the end of the PS4, Xbox One generation, going into the current generation, and has skyrocketed ever since. Now, while this specific example doesn't relate to video games itself, it does relate to PlayStation. If you purchased Discovery content on your PlayStation, they are taking that away. Not from a subscription service, not from a rental, but from the stuff you purchased. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below to an IGN article that goes into a bit more detail on the specifics of the email that was sent out to people, but essentially, due to licensing issues, they are taking that Discovery content away from you. And again, this bears repeating. This wasn't a subscription service. This wasn't a rental. This was purchased content that is being taken away from people who purchased this content. And people are wondering, they're exclaiming, but I purchased it. Shouldn't it be mine? Shouldn't I have some way to back up these videos that I bought so that I can keep them? And that would make sense to you and I, wouldn't it? But a practical reality of the industry that also seeps its way into the video games industry becomes paramount important. You don't own digital content. If you read the fine print of almost all of these digital purchases, not all, but most, you will find that it's more of a glorified license that can be revoked and taken away from you at a moment's notice with no repercussions. This happened before, and this happened before in the video games market. Now, while it wasn't a purchase, who remembers PT? PT was like this showcase, it was like a teaser. It was a horror game teaser back in the day. But because of a falling out, eventually the game was revoked, and subsequently deleted from people's consoles, becoming unplayable. This led to people taking their entire PlayStation off of online so that it couldn't be touched, so that they could continue to play it. Now, while this wasn't a paid purchase, to my understanding, this was still an act of something you downloaded that could be taken away from you. And I know the argument that a lot of people, myself included back in the day, would like to bring up at a moment like this. Buy physical. Have some kind of physical means to back up your digital content. So that even if they take the service offline or whatever, or they come off the store, you have the game. The problem is, a lot of these games nowadays, not all of them, but a lot of them, are online only, or require hotfixes and patches to function correctly, or to remove a lot of bugs or performance issues. And a lot of the times, when you buy a game physically, you're just downloading a whole bunch of stuff anyways. And if you're a PC player, freaking good luck to you. Like, there's workarounds to this, but if you buy a physical PC game, chances are you're just gonna get a Steam code. But PCs tend to be a little bit more laissez-faire, or at least open-ended, and there's workarounds you can do with the PC thing, like copying files and all that. There's ways to work around it on PC. On consoles, you would have to mod the actual console, to my knowledge. And that's just not a viable or attainable solution for a lot of people out there. And with consoles even starting to come out with digital-only versions, and people's digital libraries becoming ever more expanded and reliant on these subscription services like PlayStation Plus, Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, or Xbox Game Pass, or whatever, many people don't own the actual games they are playing anymore, and are only being allowed to play these games at the whims of the company that they come from. And should the company dictate or decree that they want to take these games away from you, they are in their right to do so. That is a looming specter, a sword of Damocles, if you will, hanging over every one of us with our digital games libraries, always on the precipice of near disaster or ruin for all these games that we have come to know and love. But like most things, the industry moves in the direction of consumer convenience. Digital games, not having to go out to buy an actual game from a store that may be sold out, and you don't have to store the thing afterwards, you always just have it on your console, always in quotation marks there. That is convenient, and that is appealing to myself and many other people. It's just easier. And a lot of the doomsday scenarios we talk about in regards to digital games purchases seem just like that, doomsday scenarios, flights of fancy that won't ever actually transpire. But all it takes is one significant case of this. Now, I don't really see this move with the Discovery videos really moving the needle for a lot of people, but it's an ever-vescent reminder that this issue is still an issue and can rise up and crop up even outside of the video games industry, but especially on video game platforms like PlayStation. So how do we counteract this? Where do we go from here? And that's a genuine question to ask, and it's going to require a big conversation and discussion surrounding this topic, because there's no easy answer to this. Because the industry has shifted in such a way to where it's really, really hard to actually completely own a game you buy. If you're a PC gamer, good luck. There's avenues to do it, but good luck. If you have an Xbox or a PlayStation that's digital only, good freaking luck, because you're reliant on these digital games that you won't own. If you have a disc version of one of these consoles, or a cartridge in the Switch's case, then you're a little bit better off. But you better hope there's no game-breaking bug or glitch that needs to be patched out, or that there's some feature that requires online only. And you also better hope that the company doesn't do a patch like they did for PT back in the day, where they just got rid of the game, even from your console if you connected to the internet, and did a system update. It's not likely to happen for every game out there, but it's a possibility that I would like to avoid, at least myself. There's no real easy answer, and while it's all well and good to talk about buying physical games, that's just not entirely tenable anymore. That only mitigates a little bit of the issue. I am a firm believer that game preservation is important, and ideally we would be able to have some way to preserve these states of these games for generations to come, so that these experiences are never truly lost for us. But I don't see digital game purchases slowing down, I just simply don't. Realistically speaking, how many people are going to stop buying digital games wholeheartedly and fully because of this Discovery videos thing? Very few, if any. Digital games are simply convenient, and the consumer market as a whole will shift to whatever's just cost-effective and convenient at the same time. Why do you think the Switch is so popular? Because it's the most popular or powerful piece of kit on the market? Not by a long shot. It's cheap, affordable, and convenient to use. You back that up with a giant swath of games you can only play on the Switch, and it's an easy layup answer. Why is PlayStation so popular? Great games, and it's a traditional console. Download the game, pop the disc in if you can do that, play the game. There's no real messing around with settings or anything like that to make sure the game can work. Chances are, you get a game, you play it, it's going to work. That is very attractive for a lot of people out there. And digital games are just simply convenient because you don't have to plan around buying it. All you have to do is make sure you have the money, go on the PlayStation Store or whatever, or Steam, or the Xbox Store, find the game, buy it, download it, and play it. There's no getting in your car, going on the bus or anything to the nearest GameStop or Walmart, waiting in line, possibly at a midnight release to make sure they're not sold out. Nothing like that. There's no worrying about the disc being scratched or the disc breaking. It's nothing like that. It's simple, it's convenient, it's appealing. Understandably so. Again, I'm a PC gamer. I also play consoles, but a lot of the games I play nowadays are digital, and I don't see that moving. And this is gonna have to be one of those scenarios we have to find an answer for. Maybe it'll never truly come to pass, but realistically, what are the ways out of this hole? We don't talk about it a lot, but piracy is there. I'm not going to endorse piracy or anything, but piracy exists because things aren't convenient, or they aren't practical. And you can take a moral high horse ground opinion or take on piracy all you want, it's not going to go away. And again, I'm not endorsing it, I'm not going to support it. But if you can't look at policy decisions like this and understand, or at least try to understand, how things like that happen, then you're not looking at it with unbiased eyes. I imagine eventually this entire issue will go to court. I imagine it will, or some government out there, probably the EU, let's be honest, will start to legislate this. I feel like that may be the only way out of this, because people at large are not going to stop buying digital games. I'm not, because the doomsday scenario that we just got a taste of with the Discovery Videos thing on PlayStation. It's a possibility, but maybe it would take the actual doomsday scenario for people at large to really take to heart this issue. Possibly, you know? Funnily enough, I was going to make a video about PC gaming at large today and what I preferred on the whole, and then all of a sudden this Sony news, drops into my lap. When you're on one of these consoles, when you're on one of these ecosystems, you are locked in to whatever Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation decrees. Whatever their policy is, whatever they want, or whatever they feel. You're not entirely separate from that on PC, because of things like Steam or Epic Games, but you have a little bit more agency, a little bit more freedom, some more workarounds that you can invoke on your end to preserve the games you care about, to modify the games that you want to modify. I think that has genuine value to it. I really do. So yeah, it's not an easy question, and it's not an easy answer for that not easy question. It just isn't. Because the fact of the matter is the industry at large has largely shifted away from us truly owning games anymore. Or really owning most media. We can make our voices heard and critique this state of the industry, but realistically speaking, what's the way out of this? It's hard to say. It really genuinely is. There's ways we can kind of prevent this from happening, at least down the line, or at least putting ourselves in a position to lighten the load if this ever does come to pass. Like getting as many physical games as possible, or at least as realistically as possible. And while it's not going to happen, what happens if Steam shuts down tomorrow? They close their doors, servers go offline, what do? Your entire Steam library, where does it go? It's not likely to happen, but it could. And these are things that we have to ask ourselves. How do we prepare for this eventuality? Do we just accept it and then if it ever does happen, say, well, we lost the role, but we can move on from this? I mean, to be fair, it is on PC, so some giga nerd out there is gonna find some kind of workaround even if that happens. Which is why, funnily enough, I feel more safe in terms of my back catalog of games on PC than I do on console. I don't have to worry about backwards compatibility, I don't have to worry about, any of that. I just have to wait till some, tech nerd figures out the solution, find it on a Reddit post, and then be able to incorporate that. It's not a foolproof solution or anything like that, but like I said, there's no real foolproof solution out there anymore, is there? But like I said, the chances of, these doomsday big-time scenarios happening are low. They're not likely, and they're not probable either. But they could happen. It's greater than 0%, but less than 1% in my opinion. Probably less than 0.01%, if even that. Where do I think everything will go from here? I don't see much happening from the Discovery Videos thing. Maybe a lawsuit happens about it. Maybe. But overall, I imagine Sony covered themselves in the fine print somewhere. I don't see this really going anywhere. I feel like it'll be major news when it happens again for 2 to 3 days, and then people will stop talking about it. I imagine that's what's going to happen. And maybe this becomes a bit of a more bigger topic of conversation later on, as more and more licensing deals go over or lapse and stuff like that. Maybe that'll be the case. We'll have to wait and see, though. It sucks. It genuinely does. And my heart goes out to all those affected by this. We're gonna lose things that they purchased. But yeah, it's an ever-present reminder of the sword of Damocles over all of our heads in regard to digital purchases in the modern day. And with that, I will call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Leave a comment down below with how you feel on all of this. Do you have a potential workaround? Do you have some kind of way that you think physical games or truly owning games can be brought back into the spotlight? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.